Hi guys, thanks for clicking on this video. It's been so long since I've sat down and filmed. Oh my gosh. Hopefully it comes back to me, but after a while and you haven't done something, feels a little strange. I'm doing my first trimester recap. I never even thought or imagined that I would make it this far. Like, this is my second pregnancy and the first was a miscarriage at 5 weeks. Making it this far in a pregnancy has been such a blessing, and I know it's all thanks to the Lord for growing this baby, continually growing this baby, and keeping them safe. So I just wanted to put that out there. I'm so grateful to be here. I wanted to kind of share with you the symptoms I felt for the last couple months. I'm sure you have noticed that videos have been few and far between. Honestly, we'll get into it. What I have just been experiencing the last couple months, it was kind of crazy and I wasn't expecting or really prepared for what was going to happen. And then I'll tell you like some of my cravings, because I have always loved to hear what weird pregnancy cravings people had, and then also just some funny stories to go along with it, and just like how I've been doing emotionally as well, because it's definitely been an emotional journey, still is, but we're on it and we're taking it day by day. So let's get into all the things that happened in the first trimester. Okay, so first I wanted to share with you the app that I've been using. It's What to Expect. I used this with my first pregnancy and really liked how informative it is, because I don't know anything about pregnancy, you guys. Like, I was never really interested in it before I got pregnant. So I haven't even watched like first trimester videos. Like, I've just never been in it. So this is like all new to me. So if you don't know very much about pregnancy, this app is very, very helpful. It gives you daily tips. It shows you how big your baby is. It shows you what's developing on your baby. There's also a bunch of forums that you can join if you have questions, and other women can write in and answer. And it's just like a very fun app for me and a community of other moms. So I really like that app and continue to use it today. Let's talk about some of my initial symptoms. So even before I was pregnant, I had no symptoms. All right, I didn't know I was pregnant at all. Didn't have anything weird going on to alert me that I was pregnant, other than missing my period. But shortly after that, I started getting this gross, constant taste in my mouth. Some women describe it as like a metallic taste. It wasn't metallic for me. It tasted like spoiled milk constantly. Like, no matter what I ate, no matter what I drank, no matter how many times I brushed my teeth, it just always tasted bad. It was disgusting, and it would last for days. Even like gum, I'd try and chew gum, but it made the gum taste bad. Like, it was gross. Like, hormones are insane. I never really noticed how much they affected a woman's body, even before pregnancy, but really during pregnancy, they just go wild. And then pretty early on, this was my worst symptom the entire first trimester. Nothing was worse than this. It was the extreme fatigue. I have never in my life felt so exhausted all the time. I would get enough sleep, I would wake up, and I'd feel like I hadn't slept at all. I couldn't do anything. That's why I didn't film videos. I just barely got through the day. I would just sit or lay on the couch most of the day. I couldn't do any like chores around the house, which is something I usually do. If you guys have followed my channel, you know I love to be productive. I love to get things done. Love to just have a full packed schedule. I could do nothing. I literally would do, maybe if I felt like it, I would try and do the dishes, and I would do about 3, and I would just be exhausted, and I would sit on the couch the rest of the day. That was the entire, like literally the entire first trimester. All 3 months. So tired. I've never been so tired. And with that, it's very frustrating because fatigue can almost make you feel lazy. And especially when you don't really see anything changing. Like, I didn't have a bump. I didn't have anything else to like alert me that I felt pregnant, which is kind of like the first trimester in general. Like, you just don't feel pregnant because you don't feel baby, any of that stuff. You probably haven't had your first appointment yet. Like I didn't have my first appointment until I was like 8.5 weeks. So all that time I was just like, wow, I'm so lazy. And then that would just get me really depressed because I couldn't do anything. So it was really, really rough. It was so bad. I also early on would get lightheaded really, really easy. Anytime I stood up, I would be lightheaded and just have to like grab onto something because I felt like I was gonna like fall over. That was so strange for me. That's not a normal thing. That really, I can't even remember if that's ever really happened to me before. Every time I would stand up, anytime I would do something and I would do it too quick, I would get lightheaded. And that was really frustrating. I never got morning sickness. Praise the Lord for that. Thought it was gonna come at some point. It never did. But there were moments when I would get a little bit queasy. The only time that the queasiness would happen was if I hadn't ate in a while. So like my stomach felt empty and I would start to get a little bit queasy. It would also really hurt to have an empty stomach. So I would constantly have to eat something to keep it full. Otherwise I would sometimes get that queasy feeling, but I'm so thankful that I never actually got morning sickness, which when you say morning sickness, it's really just sickness because it doesn't always have to be in the morning. We call it morning sickness, but it's really just like any sickness, any nausea throughout your pregnancy, and I never threw up. But yeah, the painful empty stomach, definitely had to keep that at bay. I would sometimes wake up in the middle of the night and have to eat something, so I kept like crackers by my bedside just to have something because if my stomach felt empty, it would really hurt. And so I was always having to have snacks. My appetite tripled, and I'm not even joking you. It tripled, okay? I was eating a normal amount before I got pregnant, and then once I got pregnant, I literally had to eat like every hour or two. I just constantly having to eat, not only to keep the empty stomach at bay, but I would just be hungry all the time, like all the time, even in the middle of the night, which has never happened to me before. I'm like, why am I hungry in the middle of the night? So strange. This is one of the things that I really, really, really wasn't expecting, but I was very depressed during the first trimester. I would have days of just like so much darkness, and I think because of the fatigue that just like debilitated me from doing any of my normal life stuff, I would just sit there and be so just like down, and just felt like this heavy weight on me emotionally, spiritually. I would just cry. Some days, some mornings when Nick would leave, I would just cry for a few hours and just be like so depressed. And I would text him and be like, pray for me, I'm feeling really depressed today. That's never been a constant thing for me. Like I've had moments where I've been depressed from something that's happened, but there was a lot of moments of just like really bad depression that I really wasn't expecting to be like that. I mean, you're pregnant and you feel like you should be happy. I will tell you that my first trimester, I can't remember many moments I was happy. And it's really sad to say that, but I just wasn't happy. I was full of anxiety, had a lot of depression. The fatigue was just making me feel like, why am I even existing? Because I don't do anything. It was really tough, and I didn't expect that. I didn't expect the emotional, spiritual turmoil to be such a hard symptom for me. I also started experiencing a little bit later on a lot of headaches, like daily headaches, just kind of like in the tail end, the last couple weeks of the first trimester. That was really difficult. Like some of them would just keep me out all day. Like I just couldn't do anything. I had to have like either ice packs or on my eyes or on my forehead, a dark room, no noise, and just try and like sleep. There just wasn't a lot of relief for them, and they would last all day. That was really rough. I did not like that at all, because usually when I would get headaches before, I could just take some medicine, it would go away. These ones just did not. One of the funny symptoms was going to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Never had to do that before I got pregnant. Started off being like every so often, and then it became every single night, and then it became twice a night on a regular basis. So it's just training me to get up in the middle of the night when a baby comes. I started to experience a lot of chin acne, body acne I've kind of struggled with. for kind of the whole first trimester, a little bit now, but it's kind of died down a little bit. But I would just have spurts of just having a lot of acne, which was really annoying. Not as bad as some women have it, I'm sure, but it still was pretty rough. And then just late night snacks, having to get up in the middle of the night, kind of talked about that. But I had snacks by my bedside, like crackers, but there was a couple nights I would get up in the middle of the night to go and actually have like a full snack. That was kind of different. One of the things I was able to do pretty consistently was working out. I worked out pretty consistently before I got pregnant, and I did try really hard to do a workout. I probably worked out 2 to 4 times. I would say 2 to 4 times a week. And that's been really helpful. I obviously don't do the same types of workouts that I used to do. I just always wanted to make sure I was at least trying, putting some effort in. I did find a new channel that I like to follow now because they do low impact like workouts and cardio routines. And that has been really, really helpful for me because jumping was just not in the cards for me, okay? My body, certain parts of my body hurt a lot. Jumping was not gonna make me feel any better. So the new channel I've been following is called The Body Project or Body Project. They have a ton of really great low impact cardio. You can kind of mix it up to where you feel like you're comfortable and what your body can handle. So I've really enjoyed that because I can just listen to, if I'm feeling too winded, then I slow down and just go at my own pace, which has made me feel really good. When I work out, it does make me feel really good. So I'm glad I was able to work out basically my whole first trimester. So I had my first ultrasound and appointment at 8.5 weeks. I was an absolute nervous wreck. I had never made it that far. I was terrified of something bad happening because there's just no way of knowing that everything's okay in there. We got our first ultrasound, saw the little gummy bear, just so cute, little gummy bear on there. And I just sobbed. I sobbed the whole time I was sitting there looking at him, and just my heart, I was just so relieved because it was just so scary leading up to that. And having experienced a miscarriage, and that's all I know of pregnancy before this one, that first trimester was just full of anxiety, and so much anxiety about every single appointment we would go to. So that one was filled with so much anxiety. And then I actually had a hemorrhage and a cyst that they needed to monitor. So I ended up going back 2 weeks for another ultrasound to make sure that was taken care of. Praise the Lord, the hemorrhage was gone. I'm so thankful for that because that was a little bit scary too. And then baby was still doing great at the 10-week ultrasound. So I was just nervous wreck for every single appointment. We just had another appointment 2 days ago, yesterday, I can't remember. And that one was also good. Heard the heartbeat. We didn't have an ultrasound, but heard the heartbeat, and just hearing the heartbeat gives me a lot of peace. a lot of peace. So there was just a lot of anxiety because of the miscarriage and not knowing if I was going into appointment and getting bad news. There was just no way of knowing. I didn't realize how much hormones make you just like go crazy, like emotional, spiritual, mental, all that kind of stuff. Your hormones make you a different person. I felt like literally a different person. I would break down for little reasons. Things that shouldn't bother me started to bother me. I didn't like who I was. I didn't like how I was reacting, but in a lot of senses, I couldn't control it because it was caused by the hormones. Really annoying when you don't feel like yourself. That was something I wasn't necessarily expecting. I think that's the main gist of all of my symptoms. So I'm gonna get into some fun stuff with my cravings, because if you're anything like me, I love hearing about people's cravings because they're so wildly different. My first craving that I remember very vividly was all I wanted was breakfast sandwiches. That's all I wanted. I just wanted breakfast sandwiches. So Nick bought a bunch of everything bagels, and we made a bunch of breakfast sandwiches like for probably the first few weeks. That's really all I wanted to eat. And then the second craving was short-lived but it was corn. Specifically, I wanted elote, which honestly Nick suggested it one day and I was like, oh my gosh, that's all I want. It's like this Mexican style corn. I had 2 corn on the cobs with all the fixings and I did not want anything else other than that, and I was like, I have to have another one. Like, I have to have another one. We didn't have any more corn. So this is where the fun story comes in. We didn't have any corn, but we live close to like this little Mexican market. So Nick was like, you know, they close in 10 minutes. I'm just gonna run over there. So he got there and they had already closed their doors early. So he called and he was like, hey, I just need to buy like 1 thing of corn. Like, that's it, just 1 corn on the cob. And then they're like, oh, okay, just a second, we'll be right out. And so he waits around, they didn't come back. And then so he calls again, like 10 minutes later after now they're closed and then no one ever came out. He's like, hey, so I just needed to buy that corn. And whoever had answered was like, no, we're closed now. So he was all, you know, upset, obviously, because they closed early and we haven't shopped there since. So he goes around to local restaurants right by where that store was, asking them for corn. He was like, I'll pay you. My wife's pregnant. All I need is a corn on the cob or some corn. I just need some corn. I can't remember how many restaurants he went to, but finally he got to a restaurant, told him the story. He just needed corn. He was desperate. The guy just gave him a canned corn. He was like, just take it, man, like free of charge, whatever. And so he brings back this, this can of corn. I do it with all the toppings and stuff. It was delicious for sure. And then I haven't wanted corn since. Literally, it doesn't sound good to me anymore. It was just that night that my poor husband went through that agony to get me corn. And, and he couldn't have driven to the store. I kind of left that part out. We had something wrong with our truck. We were waiting to take it in, so he couldn't drive to the store. So it had to be within walking distance, which is why he went to all those restaurants. The next one, which is still kind of a craving, is fruit. Like, I went fruit crazy and I still love fruit, like so much. So I've been loving strawberries. Oh my gosh, and this is the season for strawberries. Like right now, such a good season for strawberries. If you haven't been eating strawberries, go pick some up because they are bomb right now. Blueberries, raspberries, apples, so good. Couldn't get enough of them. This next one is probably the biggest one out of all of them so far, but that was hash browns, and really just like potatoes. Like, all I wanted was potatoes, but specifically like hash brown patties. I really wanted hash brown patties, shredded hash browns, cubed hash browns, French fries, baked potatoes in any form. I wanted them, and I still really want them. And so it's been weeks and weeks of that being like a really dominant craving, and I would eat so many potatoes. I just could not get enough of them. This is not a food craving, but this is what like my spirit and my like heart was craving as I was like just plagued by fatigue, but that was Gilmore Girls. So I basically watched all 7 seasons again. I'm like almost done with it at this point, but that's kind of all I wanted to watch, as I really couldn't do hardly anything else. But I watched so much Gilmore Girls. It was just very calming to me when I was feeling very depressed. It was something that made me feel much better. Another one was chili. Loved chili, specifically on my baked potato. So as I was like going through this potato craving, I also was like, oh my gosh though, chili and cheese with my baked potato, please and thank you. So I've eaten tons of baked potato with chili and cheese. And then I started craving grilled chicken. Even right now, that sounds so good. I've always been like more so like fried chicken kind of gal, but grilled chicken, like grilled chicken sandwiches, grilled chicken in salads, grilled chicken in wraps, grilled chicken in anything. I just wanted grilled chicken. It just tasted light and fresh, and that's what I wanted. And then speaking of fresh, this is the last one, just like fresh foods have been a huge craving, like salads or fresher meat like chicken that's like lighter. I just wanted like light, fresh foods. So like Subway sandwiches was a huge thing for us for a while, and I would always get them like toasted, but I'd have like all the fixings on it, like the lettuce and the cucumbers and the tomatoes and all the light, fresh feeling foods. And that still sounds so good. to me. So those were all my cravings that at least I wrote down, because I didn't have any like really weird ones. Some people would have like pickles with ketchup or something, you know, like very strange combinations. I didn't have any of those. I just had those. I would see something maybe on the TV and be like, oh my gosh, I have to have that. But other than that, those were like my top cravings. I think for the most part, that's basically how the first trimester has been symptom-wise. I think in a lot of ways I've been lucky. I know a lot of women have much worse first trimesters than me. I think mine was it was a lot mental. Just having to realize that my body is doing stuff even though I'm not doing stuff, you know? My body is making, the Lord, through my body, is making a human being, and that's a lot of work, which is why I was so tired. But to me, mentally, I'm not seeing anything change. All I'm seeing is the house a mess constantly, me being depressed and not having the energy to do anything about it. That was more of the struggle, was like mentally and just like spiritually and physically to get over some of those hurdles. But I'm still so glad, like when the clock struck midnight for me to enter into the second trimester, I felt so much better. And I'm not even joking. I literally think that morning I got up early just on my own volition because all of a sudden I had energy. I made coffee, I cleaned the kitchen, I did the dishes all before my husband woke up. And I'm like, I'm back. Like, I feel so good. It was like literally instant. And that's what's so crazy about all this stuff, is like you start hitting these weeks and like my app will kind of tell me things to expect. It like starts exactly when it tells you it's going to start. Like your body is just going through these processes like very orderly. It's just wild. It's crazy. Thank you guys so much for just being with me on this journey, for giving me grace as I struggled for months to create anything. All the videos I posted in my first trimester were basically filmed before my first trimester. Now that I'm feeling better, I'm hoping to get back in the swing of things, but thank you for being patient. Thank you for praying for me, you guys, because this has been wild. This has been a wild ride. I'm very thankful. The baby's still doing good, and thank you so much for joining me, for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. I really support that. I support you supporting me. Yes. I really appreciate your guys' support of my channel, and I will see you in my next video.